Well, hi there. Welcome to episode 4 of Handmade House TV. Today I'm in front of a cute little log cabin and I want to share some great information with you. So thank you for joining us. All right, today I've got something really good for you. I'm standing out front of one of the, a cute little log cabin that I built years ago, and I thought this would be a great example to share with you about the benefits of building a house one section at a time. Now, maybe a house like this is all that you have in mind or envision, that this is the perfect home, a little small retreat, one-room log cabin in the woods. But a lot of times, this makes a good section, the first starting point of your future home. And there's a lot of potential when you start with something like this, that you can add on a lot of things to it in order to make it a bigger, more comfortable home. And there's a lot of benefits to starting with one small section at a time. Obviously, you can save a lot of money, and it's a whole lot more manageable of a house to begin with. And this is one of the 12 key elements, the 12 key secrets of having a handmade house of your own, is to start small and build it one section at a time. You can actually end up with a more attractive looking home. And by the way, if you want to know what all 12 of the key elements are, all you have to do is visit Handmade House's website, go to the Handmade House Academy section, and there's a free video there where I walk you through all 12 of the different aspects that will give you a handmade house. And that's what we're at here, is we don't want a cookie cutter home. We want a perfect dream home and a handmade home, and that's what we want. And there's 12 little key elements that I've used throughout my entire career to ensure that I get a really beautiful house, and they're free for you to watch if you care to go see it. I'll put a link down in the bottom for it. But anyway, so if we start with of all of the elements if you want a small little home, you can't get much better than a cute little log cabin. And if you start with something like this, you've got yourself a great little den for a future home, or a bedroom for a future home. You have a bedroom in the upstairs area, a larger home designed to look like a farmhouse or even a larger log cabin. Having a little log cabin on the end of it is strikingly attractive. It's beautiful, and there are a lot of people that don't particularly want a log cabin, every room of the log cabin to be a log cabin. They want just one section of it. So if you're going to start with a small one-room section of the house, and you've always had a desire to have a log cabin, rather than building a large 3,000, 4,000 square foot log cabin, seriously consider starting small, starting with just a one-room log cabin with a cute little chimney on it. It's something very manageable and doable, and you won't get lost in going with substandard materials or rushing through it. You'll focus on it being quality, and you'll end up with a much better structure. And also, when it comes time that if you might want to sell the home, that there are people out there that don't want a log cabin. So when it comes time to sell, you're restricting your market if you build nothing but a log cabin. Whereas if you have a nice, say, farmhouse or something along that line that has a log cabin room, suddenly you draw in all of the people that would want a log cabin, plus all the people that would want a farmhouse. So by building multiple sections with multiple elements in it, you end up with a unique home, and plus one that's just a lot easier to sell, get your money back off of. And so when you're thinking about starting small and everything else, that perhaps something like this would intimidate you. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to move you to a different spot. I'm just going to take this camera and I'm going to spin it around, and I'm going to show you something that might be a great starting place for you in developing the competence and capability to build something like this. So hang in there. Well, that's a nice little cute building, isn't it? We actually built this log cabin from the scraps of the cabin that we were just looking at. But this is the possibility that you could start out. If you're unsure of your own abilities in designing and building a little log cabin, maybe you can start with a really little log cabin. It doesn't take that many logs, but here you can basically learn and practice and demonstrate to yourself that you can build a little log cabin by starting with an outbuilding, which is a tremendously handy thing to have, and it'll showcase to others that you know what you're doing. You don't need a building permit for this. The cost is minimal. It's you can, when it comes time to learn how to do the wood shingles on top of the roof, likely you can knock it out in a weekend, maybe two. Have a few friends over. You can learn how to notch logs, how to use a chainsaw and all the tools associated with it, how to hang a window, how to hang a door, to do a little bit of stone work on the bottom. And basically it's everything that's required in a larger home is required in something like this. So think small and get started. It's pretty cute, isn't it? So I wanted to bring you here to this shed as well as an alternative. It may be right now you're not interested in building a log cabin, or maybe a log cabin isn't your type of handmade house. It's not your preference. You'd like to start with something more basic, more traditional, something you can buy at your local lumber yard. So I brought you to this shed that I built years ago as an alternative and something to get started on. And you know, it's a funny thing about sheds that if you go to old vintage historic homes, you'll find out that in the behind them there's 10 to 20 to even 30 different outbuildings out there that all served a unique purpose. So sheds, small buildings are valuable things in our lives. They help us store our stuff. They provide additional outside working spaces where we can create things or earn a living, and also they serve to anchor our homes. They're rather than a home standing alone in a field, it's like a cluster. It's like a family. And so starting with something small it can not only give you the skills you want, but also will provide you with a wonderful feature to use in the future. And it's interesting. For years, I always dreamed of getting a bumper sticker made and with the saying on it, "He who dies with the most amount of outbuildings wins." Because I'm a big fan of outbuildings. But one thing I wanted to show you about this particular shed is notice it's got what's called on it as a cat's head. How it cantilevers over the front and provides a little porch, a little safe entry so that the water's not blowing in the door, so that you could stick something on there temporarily and it not get wet if it rained overnight. And it adds so much visually to the entire building. And by the way, I came up with a design of this by looking in an Eric Sloan book. It's one of my top recommended books for you to get, and everything else to reference, old outbuildings in particular, but everything else as well. But so when you do build something, even if you build it out of modern materials, by all means come up with a pretty design. And it's one of the things that constantly frustrates me, and that is that even with new materials, if that's all you're restricted to and you never use any local materials or you never use any salvage materials, at least come up with a classic design, something that looks different than the outbuildings one would acquire at Lowe's or Home Depot or have dropped off in your yard by some shed producing company that is basically designed because of, let's start with a piece of plywood and we'll design from there. But rather it's something designed that's aesthetically appealing. So I guess that concludes today's episode of Handmade House TV. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm really looking forward to the episode next Wednesday. I hope you tune in, where I'm going to take you to yet another cute little log cabin, and there we'll probably create several episodes that I think will be very beneficial to you, very eye-opening. I'm really looking forward to it. I wanted to close with 4 more names of people that have signed up for the Handmade House Academy. Edward Falsey, Daniel Woods, Brad Schwallen, and Phil Gilbertson. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining on the Handmade House Academy. Thank you for all the kind words you've sent to me with regard to the Academy. I really appreciate it. I've done my best in there, and it's a great program. If you want everything I know in one good course plus a whole lot of benefits, I encourage you to go to the Handmade House Academy website, and you'll learn more about that. And so until next time, until next Wednesday, I look forward to seeing you.